So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. I love Twenty Sided Tavern, so I'm super excited to have you on.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad you like the show.
Thank you. And so for the first part, can you please explain a little bit about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Absolutely. So, first of all, hello. My name is Stomp. I am the Tavern Keeper at the Twenty Sided Tavern, and ostensibly, I am the rules lawyer for the show, as well as one of the point people for all of the tech elements that happen in real time. So, I'm there as a third-party arbiter in case the DM or the players need someone to settle a ruling or to lean one way or another as far as like the mechanics of the actual game Dungeons and Dragons are concerned. And then for the show, I facilitate the script choices as well as all of the mechanics between the show and the audience. So anything that gets sent to your phone is me. I'm sending it to you, and then I'm processing those results in real time on how to adjust thresholds or difficulty levels and things like that. I also do combat effects and some sound as well from my station. So,
That's awesome. And so what was the audition process like for Twenty Sided Tavern?
oh, what a great question. So it was a I guess we could call it like a three-step process. The first was a pre-screen video. They sent out a posting through RWS and ARC, who's their casting people, and they asked us to film a little audition package, which was a funny like joke or anecdote that you had. What was your experience and your like lineage with Dungeons and Dragons? And then they gave us some like blank characters as sort of character images and asked us to create a character for them and kind of emulate that character. So we sent those off. And then if we got into the next round, we were invited to come to New York. And that was the first in-person day. And that first day was simply meeting the creative team, getting to know everybody, and doing some very like wonderful just like improv ensemble building exercises to see how well you can play with each other. And are you, supportive and I would say the word I'm looking for is courageous, but I don't mean devoid of fear. I think just in like the ability to jump feet first into something and not hesitate, not to be too back-footed. And then if you pass through that, the next day was like the final like invited callback, and that was a little bit more improv. We did a lot of scene work. We also did some very small meet the party scenes. If you're familiar with the show, I know, but for anyone who's not, at the beginning, when we introduce after the characters have been picked, they kind of come in and do a little bit of a meet the party moment where you're going to get to meet those personalities. And so we did something similar to that in the room. And then if you had been given any sides or anything and they wanted to hear from you, you stayed behind and you read for those moments. So yeah, that's a really condensed version, but it was really just those three interactions. And then after that, they were within 48 hours, we found out if we were cast or not.
Oh,
So that,
so relatively quickly then.
yeah, from really
Nice.
from first email to casting, it was probably about a week. Yeah, and actually, I just
Nice.
hit my 1 year anniversary of finding out because right around this time last year, I was moving to New York to start the show. So
Nice, nice. Were you part of the Chicago premiere or no?
no, I was not. I joined the
No.
show when it came to New York.
Had you seen the show in Chicago beforehand?
I
No.
had not. No, I was not familiar with the show. I was doing the play that goes wrong in Maryland, and I had pulled over at a gas station to fill up my car. And a bunch of my friends, because I'm from the Renaissance Fair circuit, is my a bulk of my training, my background. And a lot of my friends had been sharing. They were like, "Look at this like off-Broadway Dungeons and Dragons like improv show." And I was like, "What is this?" And like I clicked on it while waiting for the tank to fill, and I was like, "Oh, chill. Okay, I know this casting company too, so I will submit an audition." And I think 2 days later, I dropped my audition tape before I went to work at my theater, and then I found out less than a week later that I'd be going to New York for an audition. So it was very fast.
That's awesome. And so throughout the whole show, you have multiple roles. What is one of your hardest roles in the show and why?
Oh goodness. I what a great question. So I have an intriguing role because very rarely, it's been more so now, but very rarely do I play like an NPC and do I have a lot of hand in the actual like storytelling as far as the improvised storyline that the dungeon master and the players are creating. I get a little bit more involved depending on the scenario, but it's not my main focus. Um, the hardest part is, I think, for me personally, is aside from when technology goes out and I don't have Wi-Fi anymore, is when I have to step in and I have to make a ruling on something and I can see both sides of the argument, because I can see like mechanically like why in D&D maybe this request wouldn't work. Maybe a character really doesn't know how to do it, or we're having to really stretch a rule here, but I can see why we want to do it narratively. And so it's those moments are the most difficult because you have to decide very quickly what you want to do. And do you want to go more beholden to the game, or do you want to go more a bit rule of cool and help further the narrative that the audience is taking has taken hold of? And so I think having to tune into that and knowing like what my audience really wants, like you all want to see a great show. Does that mean you want to see it, the Dungeons and Dragons played like 100% factually, or do you want to see us bend these rules and follow this narrative? So that's the dance that I have to play,
Yeah.
and those are the moments that are the most tricky. They're the most rewarding, don't get me wrong, but they can be the most like tricky.
Yeah, for sure. And so when you were younger, what got you into theater?
I've always been theatrically inclined. There is a lot of footage of me as a very young kid on like family videos, like doing like small little like shows for any relative who would sit in the living room and pay attention to me. Um, so I've always really been attached to it. And then just when I first started, really was middle school. I signed with an agency in Kansas City, which is where I'm from. And I did a lot of small dinner theater work when I was very young. And I've just always been like pulled and drawn to it. I did choir, I did band. I finally did theater full time when I was in high school. And it is, for me, the appeal of it has always been the creative community and also the environment that you facilitate for anyone who comes to watch. I love knowing that for 2.5 hours, I can help people escape the realities of the day and just give them a bit of a reprieve from what's going on. And it really does fuel me. Like, I love audiences' response. It's not an ego driven thing. I'm like, oh, it makes me feel good as like me, but like as a person, I love hearing laughter, or I love that gift of storytelling. And so I really just have been attached to theater for that reason for a very long time.
That's awesome. And so, uh, if any, what character would you want to play in 20 Sided Tavern if you could choose?
Ooh, I love this. So I have wanted to give my hand, I want to play my hand a little bit and try DMing, which hopefully we're going to be able to make happen soon. But if we were looking at like characters, I think if I was to join the bench, I'd be best suited as the spellcaster. That's what I play when I play D&D. I'm usually a warlock. And I would really love to try my hand at like Dustin or Ethel, and just have some fun with those. I think it'd be a lot of fun, but we'll see. I don't know. Right now, I'm very happy. I'm very happy being the rules lawyer because I think the players do an amazing job, and their job is much more difficult narratively than mine is, and so I will let them hold that for a little bit. But we'll dip our toes in. But I'd love to be a spellcaster.
That's awesome. And so, for people who don't know Dungeons and Dragons, do they need to know Dungeons and Dragons to come see the show?
No, you really don't. We've actually put that in the beginning now when I do my opening kind of curtain speech to anyone who is there. You really don't need to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons to enjoy the show, because at its core, it is a communal story that we build in real time, and it has really nothing to do with the player's manual or the monster manual or the DM's handbook. It has very little to do with those. It is, we teach you quickly what rolling the dice means, but the only dice that we really roll, and I mean, and it, it's kind of surprising. It's just that D20, and we tell you really quickly. It just sort of tells you on a gradient scale, like how successful or how unsuccessful this is going to be. Everything else is just really beautiful. Um, World building stuff that even then, like if you don't know what a flump is or like what a windling is, like we're quick to like help you build it. It's like any other fantasy novel. You may not know when you start reading it, but once you're in it, you'll figure it out. And that's what our players do so masterfully. That's what our DMs do so masterfully, is that they hold the hand of the audience and guide them through it. So you absolutely do not need to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. You just need to be open to having a good time and enjoy fantasy. And hanging out with other people in the audience because it is interactive. So you do have to kind of talk to each other from time to time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, speaking of audiences, what should audiences expect when they come see 20 Sided Tavern?
I think you can expect to laugh. I think you can expect to leave, invested in a new genre of theater. This is kind of groundbreaking, immersive theater. It's a very different theatrical experience. I think you can also leave with, you can expect to leave with a bit of a heart and a bit of a message. Our actors are so talented, and they manage to not only make people laugh, but they manage through improv and through expert storytelling to bring a little bit of heart and another underlying message of community to the show. And I also think you can expect to learn to expect to like want to pick up your first set of dice and roll it for yourself. That's what I hope anyway. Those are my hopes.
That's awesome. And so, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Ooh, wow. It's so funny. A couple days ago, my college professor was here in town visiting, and we did brunch and we were talking. And one thing that my um, university did for all of us who are graduating, and they still do it, is they make the graduates do a 5-year plan. Kind of where do you think you're going to be, and like be very specific about it. What are you going to accomplish in year one, or what do you hope to accomplish in year one, year two, year three, etc. And they're always so well thought out, but they're very grandiose. They're very big. They're very lofty, and I think it's important. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but they're very lofty. And I still have mine, and I cackle because nothing I put on that 5-year plan happened. Like maybe one thing, and that was join a gym. It was get a gym membership, and that happened like year 3 or year 4, and it was supposed to happen in year 1. So I think the advice that I'd give to my younger self is have a plan and have goals, but be open to what the universe is going to provide for you. I never thought in a million years that my first off-Broadway show would be because I can play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm
Yeah,
gonna sneeze. I'm so sorry.
no worries.
Oh, can I get it? Ooh, avoid it. I never thought that would be my life, but I said yes to opportunities that felt right for me, and found I found the career path that was always going to be revealed to me.
Mhm.
So have a plan and have goals, but then be very open to new experiences and letting those goals change. Do not trap yourself, and also too, the other big thing I would give to myself in many aspects of my life is live my life for myself and not for the opinions of other people. Other people are not thinking about me nearly as much as I am thinking about me. And I think that's huge. And that's something that I have to tell myself still to this day. Like every day I get up and like I don't like something or I feel bad about something, and I go, no one else is going to give this the time of day. You are the only person that cares this much. Um, and just and to alleviate some of that pressure. But that's what I'd say to myself,
That's
both
great.
the younger and the current me.
Yeah. And so, this next question is similar to the last one, but what advice would you give to younger performers who like to pursue acting as a career?
I would all of that because I'm a firm believer in if it's advice that I'd give myself, I would openly give it to other people. The other bit of advice I would give is be prepared to hear the word no a lot more than you think you're going to get. Like if you think you're going to get told no a lot, amp that up a little bit more. Um, and remember that success is not it's incremental, like right, it's not just going to happen. It's going to be like a slow gradual rise, and you got to be okay with that. um and I think too, like your career is your career. It's not someone else's. Don't use someone else as a marker for it. Other things will happen for people faster than they happen for you, or they seem like they're happening faster. That's okay. Be happy for them, show up for other people, and they'll show up for you and celebrate your successes, and just be a good human. I think one thing that like younger performers and even performers now in my age and around, it's very quick and you're very easy to become jealous because it is such a frustrating profession. Um, but try not to let that fester in you, and just if you can be a good human being, good things will happen to you.
That's awesome. So, that actually up to the interview today. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.